Thank you so much for that great intro. How are you today? Oh, that's great, very great. I'm very honored to be here. I was a bit nervous back there, but they told me to relax because you guys are really nice. So thank you for being nice. So this picture, do you know who he is? Maybe I can help you with the name. Gaius Plinius Secundus. So I'm going to start with a small story that I learned from the scientist Peter Diamandis, which I'm sure many of you might know. He tells the story of this author, who in turn tells the story of a goldsmith that had a magic trick. No, it was a magic trick that transformed this rock, bauxite, which we know today, into a precious metal that is aluminum, that we know today. So he had this magic trick that he showed to the Emperor Tiberius, and the Emperor Tiberius was very worried about what would happen to his economy in the Roman Empire, so he beheaded the goldsmith, like literally beheaded the goldsmith, because he wanted to keep that magic trick secret. So what does this story tell us? After 2 millennia, we know that Napoleon III had a party, just like PopTech, but he had a party where he invited King Siam, and to him, he gave him a plate of aluminum because it was so precious, so rare, and the rest would have gold plates, which today would also be weird. I mean, in San Francisco, we would use like recyclable and reusable plastic, of course. So what does this story tell us? Something that was very rare, very unique. Today we have it in our kitchens. Aluminum is, disposable or easy to use or accessible, inexpensive. And what made this magic trick something possible, or something that was impossible possible, magic real? What was that bridge that connected this? It was electrolysis, science, technology. Right? In the 19th century, 2 scientists developed electrolysis through electricity, where you take bauxite, and with electricity, you release aluminum. So I'm a scientist, and I studied biochemistry, but I'm not a scientist from the US, where there are more than 4,000 researchers and developers per million inhabitants, neither from Europe, where there are more than 3,000, nor from Japan, where there are more than 5,000, or Singapore, where there are more than 6,000 researchers and developers per million inhabitants. I'm from Latin America, Chile. In Latin America, we have 503 researchers and developers per million inhabitants, according to the World Bank. During my science education, this is what it looked like. It was very theoretical, full of formulas, F equals ma. I mean, they would teach me chemistry and physics with the textbook, which is like learning how to ride a bicycle, reading a book. Whereas to actually learn how to ride a bicycle, you need to live the experience of riding a bike. Just like in science. To actually learn science, you need to live the experience of scientific experimentation. But to do that, you need equipment or biobus. In Latin America, according to the Inter-American Development Bank, 88% of the schools don't have any labs. And in the US, last year I moved to the US, visited Palo Alto High School and Mission High School. We know that in the US, many STEM teachers don't hold certifications. So we have a multi-factor problem here. Science equipment is expensive, teachers need help, and in the end, students don't engage, and we have low scientific literacy index. There is a learning crisis, according to the World Bank, just released a report that we are schooling without learning. So we are investing so much in schooling without actually learning. So there is a learning crisis. So how can we democratize science and change the way science is taught? So for the first time in human history, in mankind, there is a massive vehicle. There are more than 3 billion smartphones in the world. And many don't know, but I'm sure you guys know because you're super smart, that smartphones and tablets have several built-in sensors, such as GPS, accelerometer, magnetometer, barometer, camera, that are normally used for games and navigation, but not for science. I mean, you take a selfie, you hail an Uber, there Uber in Camden? Yeah. That are not normally used for science education. So what we do at Lab4U, we transform these devices into complete science labs using the built-in sensors. So we built a set of apps. Lab4Physics is one, where you see students analyzing centripetal acceleration. This is in Latin America, studying the difference between distance and displacement, or force, mass, and acceleration, and getting the data in real time. Or with chemistry, you can calculate the concentration of a solution based on color. So we take a picture, process the image with our algorithm, and calculate the concentration of a solution without an expensive colorimeter. Or with a $1 lens, you create, do-it-yourself microscope. And in that way, we empower students and teachers to experiment with a lab in your pocket. This is an example of the work we've done here in the US, for example.
One of the best things about Lab4U is that without a whole lot of explanation, they're able to take that tool and start creating experiments.
Today we did a skateboard experiment with Lab4Physics, and pretty much what we did in that is we tested the iPad on different surfaces.
We're sliding down the iPad to see and measure the speed it goes down based on the distance and time. And we're teaching the little kids how to do that so that they can learn a little more too. I love doing those because it's more fun than worksheets. I prefer to work with things that are in my hands.
Yeah. And this is an example of the work we do, and something we've learned traveling around the world, and in Latin America, the US, we see the important role that the teacher has, crucial role that educators have, and how much help they need as well. So if I look into my schooling and my education, I never said, dude, that page 245 of that Pearson textbook changed my life. I never said that. What did I say? What did I feel? That teacher inspired me to see things differently, and that changed my life. So for us, it's really important to empower teachers so that they can inspire the students and the next change makers that we're going to have today in the world. Let me go next. So we've traveled around the world. Today in Latin America, we've got 20,000 students, especially in Chile and Mexico, experimenting with Lab4Physics. Last month, we trained teachers in Mexico. And what we've seen is that, and there's a famous quote, talent is universal and opportunities are not. And we see that on and on. We see great talent around the world. The next Einstein or Marie Curie can be anywhere in the world, in a favela in Brazil or in a slum in India. And we are looking forward to meet that next Einstein or Marie Curie or female Elon Musk, etc. Something that struck me when I went on training the teachers in Mexico, and as an entrepreneur, I think it's important to share this story, is they had the smartphones, so the technology was there. They had like the Samsungs and the iPhones, a lot of technology, but the schools had no Wi-Fi. So how are we going to implement technology? Technology is going to change the world, etc., but the region has no Wi-Fi. So as an entrepreneur, you have to really think the real situation in which the population you're serving has. So we had to develop an online and offline mode so that schools that don't have Wi-Fi, the experiments could be run anyway. We think that we're like the Netflix of science experiments, so you can download, instead of downloading the series, you just download an experiment. We don't have that much money as Netflix, but we really have to understand, and the whole point is understanding the situation of each country to actually give them a solution. And I thought that was important. And talking about talent is universal, opportunities are not, Toyota gave us an opportunity to share our story with the Toyota Mothers of Invention program. And we actually used this fancy Mirai that's sitting right outside, and you can test it, to run an experiment. And I want to invite you to take a look at it.
Normally in a classroom, we would use a toy car to run fun experiments, but today we're going to use something bigger. We've marked 25 meters behind me. Using the Lab4Physics app, we're going to analyze the position versus time graph of a moving object every 5 meters. What's great about this app is that it enables students to capture real data using the sensors that are already built in a smartphone, and you can relate that to real-life examples. This is Komal Dadlani, Toyota Mother of Invention.
Thank you. Thank you. And to conclude, I actually stole a slide from one of the previous presenters. I hope he doesn't mind, when he spoke about the future. And we know that the future is already here. You know, the world's largest taxi company, Uber, owns no cars, or Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate. We believe that Lab4U can be the world's largest educational lab experience provider, owning no lab equipment. Though we know that speed might be measured by miles per hour, life should be measured by smiles per hour. And if we can give everyone the opportunity to have a lab in their pockets, we believe that we can make a difference. Thank you very much.